以往我们认为的专利侵权指的是文艺侵权，指的是它在专利技术上面的侵权，但是他现在讲的是说，很多的这个美国专利，它40%有一些的原始的这个物种，什么都是来自印度、来自中国。那么这一类是不是也是侵权？他们刚刚怎么探讨的是这个议题？那么我们非常谢谢这个Professor Amazon 的这个talk. Then we return our attention to the Western country. We would like to invite Professor Pryor for the last excellent talk. Let's give a warm welcome for Professor Pryor.
Thank you, President Wu and Professor Lei, for inviting me to be part of today's presentation.
谢谢校长跟院长安排今天的演讲。
I will be speaking about two narrow topics of American contract law.
他今天要讲一个比较专业的一个题目，就是美国的这个合约法。
I have chosen these because I believe they are not familiar to students outside America.
他特别选这个题目，因为不在美国的人应该都不了解，所以他今天要特别来教我们这一点。
I expect that many of you will be engaged in negotiating contracts with American companies.
他假设我们应该工作上以后都会跟美国公司什么有很多用到美国法的地方，有关于这个合约，特别是合约法的部分。
So being familiar with these two American doctrines should be important to you.
所以这两个很重要的美国的这个法律原则，应该对我们都很重要，所以他今天特别讲这个部分。
The first of them is what we in America call the statute of frauds.
他讲的这个 statute of fraud 是诈欺吗？是 OK， 就是诈欺。这个他今天讲这个部分。
The statute of frauds comes from England in the year 1677.
这个法令是从英国来的，从1677年开始。
When for the first time parties to a legal action could testify for themselves.
这个是从第一次让这个另外一方可以去替代自己辩护。
Notwithstanding that this was part of English law,
这个是一部分是来自英国法。
it has been largely repealed in England.
在英国经常的使用。
But it is still present in some form in almost all American states.
但在美国也很常被使用。
The purpose or a contract that is covered by this statute of frauds may not be enforced unless there is some writing signed by the party against whom enforcement is sought.
如果这个没有被写下来的东西，基本上是不能用来挑战对方。
It is not necessary that the entire contract be in writing.
那事实上呢，不见得所有的东西都是写在合约上面的。
And it is required only that the party defendant have signed the contract.
只有当被告签字的这个才算数。
In the interest of time, I will not review my flowchart in detail.
因为时间的关系，他没有办法仔细的教我们这个 flow chart 这个流程。
I use this for some time with my American students.
他经常用这个来教美国学生。
But for our purposes, let's move on more quickly.
但是他现在很快把它 run 到下一个步骤去。
Historically, there were 5 contracts that must be in writing.
有五类的这个合约一定要用写的。
Contracts for marriage.
例如结婚。
Contracts that could not be performed within 1 year.
不能在1年内实施的东西都要写下来。
Contracts for transfer of land, immovable property.
买卖土地。
Contracts by executor, personal representative of an estate.
执行相关的业务。
And contracts signed by a surety, one who promised to answer for the debts of another. Guarantor.
担保。
However, there are many other contracts which under American law must be in writing.
另外有一些美国法的这个合约是一定要写下来的。
I will not review all of them.
没有办法一一告诉大家。
but I will mention the first on this next list
但是画面上这几个他要告诉大家，
because it is very important if you're engaged in international business transactions.
如果你做国际相关业务，现在上面这几个都是非常重要的。
Under American law, any contract for the sale of movable property
在美国法 UCC 就是美国商法，可以就是动产，应该讲动产。
of $500 or more
$500以上的这个数额，
must be in writing.
就必须要写下来，必须写成合约。
There are many others which I will skip over till we come to this set.
因为今天讲知识产权，所以他现在跳到这个部分。
And you see here 3 examples of contracts related to intellectual property rights.
有关专利相关的这个法规，它现在列在上面给我们参考。
Patents, copyrights, and trademarks,
专利商标还有这个著作权，
which must also be in writing.
也应该要写下来，在合约法里面。
There are 3 common exceptions to the requirement of the statute of frauds.
在有关于相关这个诈欺法规里面，法令里面有3个要件，在这个部分要告诉我们大家例外的部分。
Where a party has admitted in court the existence of a contract,
如果你在法院里面承认合约的存在，
where the other party has relied to his great detriment on a contract,
如果另外一方有这个承担的这个责任义务的时候，
or where one party has promised to put a contract in writing and failed to do so.
或者是你答应要写成合约，你答应要做，但是后来合约并没有写出，没有完成。
My next topic is one rule of the interpretation of contracts in America.
他另外要告诉我们说是怎么去解释这个美国的这个合约，另外一个主题。
It is called the parole evidence rule.
就是证据法则。
The word parole comes from French, which means oral.
这是从法文来的，就是口语的这个意思。
The substance of this rule is that if any part of a contract has been put in writing, no oral provision can be enforced that differs from the writing.
如果之前已经承诺了，之后不管你有没有写，它都应该要算数。
Again, this slide and some of the others I use with my American students,
这个也是他在美国教学所用的，包括
so they contain much more detail than is necessary for your understanding today.
所以以后大家可以参考这个 PowerPoint 来得到更多的学习。
Another flow chart, which I will omit,
这个很精彩的这个 flowchart，他也没有时间跟大家做详细解释。
but this provision here is simply an example of something important.
但是在这里这个例子非常的重要，他用例子来告诉我们。
You will see a provision like this